Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's third video doing GavsWeatherVids Sunday Round-Up for today's third video. So it's also on Sunday, we've got your eclectic mix of this and that. Going to be looking at things like the QBO, so activity, sea surface temperature, anomalies, Arctic oscillation, North Atlantic oscillation, and the weather the next week, 10 days and beyond. So sit back, relax and enjoy, and I shall get on with the Sunday Round-Up for you in a moment. Just say that the first video released today was our nice little 7 AM upload, a couple of day forecasts, and also we've released our 8th summer update, which is a bit of a QBO special. Going to start the Sunday Round with QBO as well, but the 8th summer update is also a QBO special, so have a look at that. We're going to be live streaming from 6 o'clock this evening, so that's going to be, of course, Sunday live stream, so it's going to be focusing on the long range. We're going to bring you data from a CFS and also from Patal Peng's analogues. And I shall see you live at 6. Right, please like, share, subscribe on the videos. Thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. Let's get on with Sunday Round-Up then. So we're going to start off with the QBO, so quasi-binary oscillation, just an index that's reflecting the atmospheric state, this time sort of measuring strength of the zonal westerlies. So when you're in an EC QBO, you weaken the zonal westerlies. Westerly QBO sort of strengthen and power up the zonal westerlies. The negative numbers on this chart from NOAA, which depicts sort of each QBO number all the way back into the 1940s by a monthly period. Negative numbers are EC QBOs, positive numbers are westerly QBOs. If you come down through the decades, then so we started in 1948, but it's unreliable back there. So reliably it's from around 1953, 1954. I think. So we come down through the decades, through the 70s, through the 80s, through the 90s, and we get down into the current year, which of course is 2021. So we see that we begin this year with quite a strong westerly QBO sort of number, plus 10.19. So westerly QBO for January, westerly QBO for February, 8.92. A little bit strong with westerly QBO for March at 9.75. But look what's happening in April. We've got April's number in now, and that is plus 5.25. Quite a significant weakening of the westerly QBO from March to April. And that could be an indication that the westerly QBO, which of course began, the current westerly QBO, which began like last summer when the EC QBO failed, it could be a sign that westerly QBO is beginning to move move away from westerly QBO phase into an EC QBO phase. So you might be starting to transition into EC QBO. That's what our analogues for the summer update are based upon, EC QBO transitioning summer. So as we fill in these numbers just here for May, for June, for July, for August, we may see negative numbers starting to appear if we are indeed beginning to transition from a westerly to an easterly QBO. This is how the chart looks from NASA. So with this, you have to think that this is like the top of the stratosphere just here. So that's at 10 HPA up there. The boundary level of the atmosphere where weather takes place is the troposphere. That's 30 to 50 HPA. Just there. So the blue-green colour is the easterly QBO phase. The sandy colour is the westerly QBO phase. The last proper easterly QBO phase from 2017 to 18 is almost disappearing off the chart now. It's so long ago, but you can still just make it out through there. Then of course we have the westerly QBO that developed through 2018 to 2019 and into early 2020. We should have had the EC QBO coming back in the second half of 2020. You see it up there in the stratospheric level, but it did not descend down into the troposphere. It failed, and the westerly QBO powered up and came back through the second half of 2020 and into 2021. The current situation is just here. You can see that we still just about have the westerly QBO continuing in the troposphere from 30 to 50 HPA. So we are still in a westerly QBO phase, but clearly the easterly QBO up in the stratosphere is getting strong. You can see that by the intensity of the colour. So the darker the blue, the more intense the phase is. So you can see from the colour that the EC QBO is getting stronger, and it does also look like it's descending as well. You can see that there's clearly a downward slope here from the stratosphere towards the troposphere, not yet into the troposphere, but from the stratosphere towards the troposphere. There is a downward slope. If you zoom in, you have to make it out a little bit better. So there it is. You can clearly see that there is a downward slope taking place, showing that the ECQBO is both strengthening in the stratosphere and is also descending towards, not yet into, but towards the troposphere. So this is why, the thinking is that the summer will probably be a transition easterly QBO, so that's what our summer analogues are based upon. But of course, we may get something unexpected happen. Last year we had a failure of the ECQBO. It didn't descend properly. Westerly QBO came back. So until it has actually descended and we're into the easterly QBO properly, we won't be able to say for certain that the ECQBO is on the way. But it certainly looks like that's what's going on at the moment. There's no reason to suspect that there will be another failure of the QBO. And again, we didn't expect a failure of the QBO last year, either, the ECQBO. So we'll just have to wait and see. Right, so activity next. This our solar disk is looking on our side of the disk today from solarham.net. So we've got one sunspot region just there. Otherwise, solar disk hasn't got much going on today. Solar activity is at low levels and is expected to remain at low levels for the next 3 days. This is the GavsWeatherVids Solar Activity Tracker, updated by keeper of the Solar Tracker, our good friend James Acriel, today, the 9th of May. The orange line is depicting each individual day's worth of sunspot activity. So you can see that we're still very up and down. We haven't yet got into a consistent sort of increase in sunspot numbers, really. We did have a push up in sunspot numbers there back in April, but then again, like a couple of days ago, we actually had no sunspots for a day or two. We're just there right now, so yes, sunspots have returned, but only at a very small level of them. The trend lines, which are the thick green and thick red lines, they're still at a low level, these. So they have lifted up a little bit from that drop that we have just there through the early part of April. They have we have seen a bit of an increase in solar activity, but only to quite a low level, to be honest. So it's a slow start to solar cycle 25. We are well and truly into solar cycle 25 now. We're nearly 18 months into it, I think. So you would expect that solar activity will be starting to pick up quite nicely by this point. It is slow to get this solar cycle going. It was expected to be so because it was a long solar minimum. Again, as was the solar minimum from the last solar cycle, 23 to 24. So it looks like it's performing in a very similar sort of fashion, this, to solar cycle 24, and will probably be another relatively weak solar cycle. I think if we're going to have a big solar cycle, we would be starting to see signs of it taking off by now, but it still remains quite slow, quite sluggish, really, this solar cycle. Now, who am I today? Let's have a look. Oh, I've turned to the dark side. It's Gav Anakin today. I have the high ground. From Rich. Thanks, Rich, for turning me into, at that point, it's Darth Vader, I suppose, isn't he? But also Anakin Skywalker. Thanks, Rich, for doing that. Right, so, spotless days and current spotless stretch. So, the current spotless stretch is 0 days, as we had sunspots yesterday. So, for 2021 so far, we have 46 days without sunspots. That is 35% of the year, I think. So that percentage gradually coming down, as you would expect the further on we go into the solar cycle. So as we move through the year, you'd expect it to get that percentage to get smaller. For 2020, we had 208 days without sunspots. That's 57% of the year. Of course, our solar minimum year was 2019, which had 77% of the year without sunspots. Come down to like the beginning of solar cycle 24, the last solar cycle, you can see that again we had a very slow start. So the solar minimum year of 2008, which had 268 days without sunspots, that was 73% of the year. 2009 had almost the same percentage, actually, the first year. So cycle 24 had 260 days without sunspots, that's 71% of the year. Our comparable year this year is 2010, and that had 51 days without sunspots. I can't quite make the percentage out on that, actually. I think it's about 14%. So yeah, this solar cycle seems to be performing in a similar kind of fashion to the last solar cycle. It is a slow start to get it going. It is a sluggish sort of start to solar cycle. And we should wait and see when it's going to properly take off. At some point it will take off, I would have thought, unless something very unexpected happens. Of course, there are sort of theories about grand solar minimum and all that sort of thing. And if that was to happen, then the solar cycle would never really take off. But I would assume this is going to be very similar to the last solar cycle. The last solar cycle did eventually take off in like 2011 and 2012, 2013, 2014, and so on. We had, although it was at a low level still, actually, for like a solar maximum, like the weakest solar maximum for 100 years. Nevertheless, it did eventually get going, so I would expect this solar cycle will eventually get going, but we may have a little bit longer to wait. Thanks to James and to Rich for sending through the data, and to Rich for turning me into Anakin. Right, let's have a look at the oceans then. So this is last week's sea surface temperature anomaly map from NOAA. Got our 3 areas of interest. Got the ENSO region just here, of course, in the equatorial Pacific. Got the Northern Pacific Ocean over there. We've got the Atlantic Ocean over there. That's how the oceans were looking when we did last week's Sunday Round-Up. Let's have a look at the very latest. This is it then. So we'll deal with the ENSO region. This is from the 7th of May, by the way. We'll deal with the ENSO region first of all. So, again, that's how the ENSO region was looking last week. This is how the ENSO region looks this week. Not much of a change. We're still gradually coming out of this La Nina, really. So we're still seeing an unravelling and a weakening of the La Nina. There's still just about a signature for La Nina there, but clearly it's virtually gone now. That La Nina from 2020, 2021. We're back at ENSO neutral. It's on the cold side of ENSO neutral, but we are back at ENSO neutral. We're still waiting to see where ENSO goes through the second half of the year. Right, so that's the ENSO region done. Let's have a look at the Northern Pacific. Again, very little change up there either. So still got this slightly cold average area up here in the northeastern Pacific, more notably so sort of through the central part of off the central part of America into North America into the Pacific Ocean. So still pretty cool up there. Very little change in the ocean, in the Pacific Ocean over past week. In the Atlantic, that's how the Atlantic was looking last week. So we're looking over here now. Of course, this is the latest. So a very warm Atlantic Ocean generally at the moment. So particularly notably so through here, like from the Azores down to Canary Islands and out into the middle of the Atlantic. The tropical Atlantic looks quite warm as well, although there is some cooling going on off the coast of Africa, but that is relatively shallow waters and will be prone to quite dramatic temperature changes with weather conditions. So there might be an area of low pressure or something can be going on there, but producing that little cooling just off the coast of Africa. Generally, into the deeper waters, the Atlantic in the tropics looks quite warm as well, but particularly so up here. It looks quite warm up here as well. So South of Greenland looks quite warm, a little bit cooler perhaps through there. But no, just generally the Atlantic is in a warm state at the moment, as it has been since last year, actually. There's no sign of anything notably cool going on with the Atlantic Ocean. Of course, you can see that it is quite significantly colder than average close to the UK and in the North Sea. But again, these are shallow waters, so they're prone to temperature changes with the weather conditions. We've had quite a cold winter and certainly had a cold spring so far, and so those temperature anomalies, you know, are suppressed. But as soon as we get some hot weather, you'll find that those temperature anomalies around the UK and Ireland in those shallow waters very quickly start to respond and lift up. So yeah, generally the Atlantic is just in a warm state, very little change, and has got warmer, I think, really, over the past week. Again, that's how it looked last week, that's how it looks this week. I think the Atlantic is continuing to warm, especially through this area just here. So warming in the Atlantic, very little change in the Pacific. This is the SOI, the Southern Oscillation Index from Queensland Government. So this is just a way of measuring what's going on with ENSO, measuring the atmospheric state. So when the SOI is in its positive phase, the atmospheric state will be reflective of La Nina. When the SOI is in its negative phase, the atmospheric state will be reflective of El Nino. So you can see that we're trading negativity and positivity, really, of the SOI. So on the 1st of May, the SOI was at minus 14. The 2nd of May, SOI was at minus 20. Very negative. That's sort of El Nino type atmospheric setup. 3rd of May, SOI was at minus 12. But then we go very positive. 4th of May, we go to plus 7. 5th of May, we go to plus 25. 6th of May, we go to plus 32. That's extremely reflective of a La Nina type atmospheric setup. 7th of May, we go to plus 22. And it begins to come down through the 8th and the 9th of May, plus 10 and plus 5. We may see a couple of negative days appearing quite shortly, therefore. So, generally trading negativity and positivity of the SOI, which tells us that neither state has an ascendancy. It's just swinging between El Nino and La Nina type setup, and that is exactly what you expect to happen at ENSO neutral. While that continues, we will probably remain at ENSO neutral. So that is all very classic of the current phase that we are at. This is how Eurasian snow cover is looking. So, still continue to lose snow, of course, from Siberia and from Eurasia. The snow line now is through there. And beginning to disappear around here as well, by the way. So yeah, the snow line continues to retreat back into the depths of Siberia, northern Siberia, and it's not going to be long now before Russia and Siberia and Eurasia is completely snow-free, except over mountainous areas. Still quite a bit of snow across the northern parts of Scandinavia, you'll notice, in towards the Arctic Circle. But very quickly now, snow cover is disappearing, as you'll expect, as we move into the Northern Hemisphere summer. Arctic sea ice extent looks like that. So the blue line shows how we're doing for Arctic sea ice extent at the moment. So, of course, we're in the melt season now. Melt season will continue from now right way through to September. That's when we will bottom out with this year's melt season. Always happens like in the 1st or 2nd week of September. We're currently here, so we're below our long-term 30-year averages, which are these grey lines just here. If we fill this in with more recent years, we'll see how we're comparing to 2020. So you can see that blue and green line, which is 2020, very much on a par with one another. So we are comparable to last year for Arctic sea ice extent. We're a bit above 2019, which is the orange line. We're a little bit above 2018 as well. Very close to 2017. And that one is 2016, which is a little bit harder to make out. It's like a pale blue line. We're a little bit above that, I think. 2015, so we're very close to that. 2014, a little bit below 2014. 2013, we're below 2013. And also 2012, we are below that as well. But we are close to our more recent years, 2020, 2019, 2018, 2017. We're close to all of those years. So nothing overly dramatic taking place with Arctic sea ice extent at the moment. We should wait and see what sort of season we have as we go through this melt season, of course. Arctic oscillation observed and forecast looks like this. So black line shows where I've been with the AO, red line's at the end where the GFS ensembles are forecasting the AO to go. So, of course, again, just a way of measuring the atmospheric setup. This time it's looking at the Arctic. So, when you've got a positive AO, you have low pressure over the Arctic. When you've got a negative AO, you have high pressure blocking over the Arctic. Through the 2nd half of April in particular, we have had a negative AO, which of course is associated with northern blocking. We're currently just there, so it's on the negative side again at the moment. As we've gone into May, the AO remains negative. No sign of anything particularly dramatic happening over the next couple of weeks with the GFS ensemble, just keeping the Arctic oscillation around neutral to perhaps slightly negative. So nothing particularly dramatic happening. Neutral to weakly negative, probably, or neutrally weakly positive on some days, maybe. But nothing particularly dramatic happening from an AO perspective. NAO observed and forecast looks like that. So again, this is measuring air pressures in the Atlantic between the Azores and Iceland. So when you've got a positive NAO, you'll have low pressure around Iceland, high pressure through the Azores, you'll strengthen westerly storm flow. When you've got a negative NAO, you'll have weaker pressure and sometimes high pressure around Iceland and low pressure around the Azores. The current situation, so through the 2nd half of April again, we saw, or through most of April actually, we saw the NEO going into a negative phase. Current situation with the NEO is that we're just there. We're weekly negative. GFS ensembles are generally forecasting that we will stay around neutral to weekly negative for the next couple of weeks. So both the indexes are neutral to weekly negative. Probably going to be probably a signal, you know, for rather cool and unsettled conditions to continue, really, to be honest. So it doesn't look like the Azores High is going to be powering up, because if it was, we would see the AO and the NEO shifting into a more positive phase, I would have thought. Right, this says, let's do some forecasting then. This is how the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles are looking. Next go, we're looking at Northampton today. I thought we'd have a look at my local town. So red line is the 30-year upper air temperature average for Northampton. We're above average today. It's quite warm out there today, but temperatures will be dropping back close to long-term averages over the next 2 or 3 days, as you can clearly see through here. And then we're just generally staying close to average, to a little bit on the cool side, really, over the next couple of weeks, to be honest. So even from like upper air temperature perspective, nothing particularly dramatic going on. There are a few hot outliers appearing right at the very end. You would expect that, of course, given the time of the year. But we have an equal number of really cold outliers down here. So I think really we just say temperatures are going to be rather disappointing after this sort of milder day that we've got today, or warmer day that we've got today. And regular precipitation from beginning to end. There's no sign of anything particularly settled coming up, just regular showers, if not longer spells of rain. So it remains a cool and unsettled scene, I'm afraid. Or maybe that's what you want. It depends what you want, doesn't it? Temperature anomalies from the 9th to the 17th of May. Going to be a little bit below average. Not a surprise given that ensemble graph we just looked at. Precipitation anomalies from the 9th to 17th of May, close to or a little bit wetter than average, especially for more northern and western areas. Latest wind flow map from earthnullschool.net shows we've got low pressure sitting just to west of Ireland, bringing in a warmer south-southwesterly wind today. But of course, it is unsettled. With low pressure, it will be. This is how the UK Met is looking for Wednesday. So that low pressure is still in over the country, bringing further showers, if not longer spells of rain. We keep this unsettled weather going through the rest of the week. Eventually, we drop the low pressure way to the south. So by next weekend, we might get a little bit of a ridge trying to get going. But there's more low pressure in the Atlantic. That looks like it's only going in one direction, which is into the UK and to Ireland. So I think any attempt at a ridge is probably going to be doomed to fail as this next low moves in from the west. GFS midnight run, again, low pressures over top of the country on Wednesday. That brings showers along with spells of rain. That continues into Thursday and Friday as well. Eventually the trough will drop southwards. And then we try and get a bit of a ridge going into next weekend. But not for long. Miss the next low. It's just sort of rolling in off the Atlantic, quickly flattening off any attempt at a ridge. And we just keep it unsettled really then as we go up to day 10. So that's the chart for day 10. A little bit of a southerly influence there, so maybe slightly warmer from the south, but still looking quite unsettled with low pressure out to our west. And it just goes on right way to the extended range. Next low is powering in there on the 25th of May. That will be bringing more wet weather. Still not really getting rid of northern blocking either, by the way. Still relatively high pressure towards Greenland and Iceland as well. That's so look as we get to the end of the GFS midnight run, which gets us to 25th of May today. We'll soon have the next bank holiday into the time frame of the GFS. I think next weekend we will begin bank holiday updates for the next bank holiday. And as we get to 25th of May, 384 hours away, so a long way out, but as we get to it, still looking unsettled. Low pressure is still well and truly in control. GEM looks like that. So again, further showers, long spells of rain with low pressure through the next few days into the weekend. Again, there's that little ridge attempt as we go through in Saturday. How successful is it? Maybe making a little bit more of that ridge next weekend with the GM. But again, very quickly it gets flattened off as the low pressure comes in. So no more than like couple of days, maybe Friday, Saturday, a couple of days of drier weather, and then back into unsettled conditions again. That's a day 10 chart, which does look very unsettled actually. This is 19th of May. Low pressure is right in over top of the country, bringing showers, if not longer spells of rain. And then the ECM looking like that. So the trough is dropping southwards through this week into the end of the week, taking shower risk southwards. Again, a ridge is trying to build in from the north. We do build that ridge through the country at midnight on Saturday. We've got quite a bit of low pressure in the Atlantic, and so the ridge is very quickly shunted out of the way, and in comes the low pressure. And so up to day 10, looking unsettled with more low pressure in over the top of the country, bringing showers, if not longer spells of rain. This is the precipitation type forecast based on that ECM run. So lots of showers coming up over the next few hours, and there might even be some thunderstorms in the far southeast corner overnight tonight. We've got some heavy showers and maybe even thundery downpours clipping in to East Anglia and southeastern parts of England at midnight and on into the early hours actually. They'll push away into the North Sea, and we're left with showers around western coast. Tomorrow we will build up showers across the country. They'll be heavy. There's a risk of hail and thunder being mixed in with some of those showers as well. Maybe do it all over again on Tuesday with more showers, if not some longer spells of rain as well. And that's the scene through the rest of the week, really. Showers, longer spells of rain coming and going. There will be plenty of rain around. There will be dry interludes in between those downpours, so it's not going to be a complete and total washout, but there's going to be lots of showers around in the coming days, and some of them will be heavy and thundery too. And as you can see from there, for example, they might even merge into some longer spells of rain at times. And we just keep this generally unsettled weather going right the way up to day 10. We can't show you the options on a table within the ECM ensembles at the moment, because they're not updated from the Icelandic Met Office until later on today. So we'll show you those in live stream at 6 o'clock, and we'll also show you the CFS V2 weeklies in live stream from 6 o'clock as well. But we will show you finally the CFS monthly forecast. So this is how CFS is forecasting June in terms of 700 millibar height anomaly. Now, a couple of days ago, this was going for like a ridge through the Atlantic into the UK and on into northern Europe, which would have brought a lot of dry and will bring a lot of dry and warm weather. Look what it's doing now. It's re-establishing northern blocking yet again. So all of this red around Greenland and Iceland is blocking. We're hinting at having a trough underneath it, which is of course always an inherent risk in the summer with northern blocking, as you have more energy available in the atmosphere because it's a warmer time of year. You can very often develop a trough under a blocking area of high pressure, and so that is probably hinting at quite a cool and wet June now, if that came off. We have got some higher pressure to our south around Spain and going over into continental Europe. But if you want a warm, if you want a hot June, if you want a warm June, that is a little bit of a worrying signal given the extent of the blocking and that trough that is underneath it. The temperature anomaly for June from the CFS looks like that, so no better than average. No signal for precipitation, but clearly with that trough sitting over just the west of the country, there would be a risk of quite a bit of rain. Not great, but remember, CFS is changing day by day with these charts, and it's only a couple of days ago. It's like going for a big ridge from the Azores highs. So it has changed significantly, and that probably just tells us that at the moment, CFS hasn't got much of a signal for June. But it is typical of what I've been seeing over the past few months, where these monthly forecasts have tended to start off trying to establish warmer weather, and then have gradually sort of moved back towards a blocking signal. So it could be an indication that the blocking that we've had on and off through this year so far is set to go on into the summer. It might be. We'll have to wait and see. Right, if you enjoyed Sunday Round-Up, please can you click like, make sure you subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much everybody for your met. You want to see future weather content if you give us a sub. Tell friends, family, and everybody else to subscribe. Thank you so much for doing this, GavsWeatherVids. Drop a comment and let us know what you think about this and all of our videos. Right, so that's it. We're going to put on around 35 now, I think it is. Around 35 subscribers. Maybe 33 or 34. So to get to 11k. So we're closing in on 11k quite quickly. at the moment. It would be nice if we could do it this month, but we'll have to wait and see. But anyway, if you like to get subbed to our channel, please give us a sub and tell friends, family, everybody else to subscribe. Thank you so much. Right, that's it for Sunday Roundup then for this week. Going to see you live from 6 o'clock. As well as the things I just said, we'll be looking at in the Sunday Roundup, like the CFS Weeklies and the options on the table from the ECL ensembles. We will, of course, have a look at 12Z. And as in Sunday live stream, we've got to do some long range as well. So we'll be showing you CFS and Patal Peng analogues. Patal Peng's analogues are going to be covering summer, autumn, and winter 21-22. So it's going to be a very interesting live stream. I shall see you at 6 o'clock then. But for the Sunday Roundup this week, that's all for now. And thanks for watching.